Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're talking about how to form a sentence in French, basically. Now, French is what we call an SVO language, and this is what we need to focus on. Firstly, we're going to focus on the SVO rules, and then we're going to do some practice lessons about this. This is going to be a multiple part um, tutorial, so be sure to subscribe in order to receive notifications about future videos, and also don't forget to check out the description box down below because it contains information about my courses, about how I can help you learn French even more, and of course there are links to resources that will help you practice more French. So, French is what we call an SVO language. That means that the standard sentence in French will be formed with a subject, a verb, and an object. Now, the subject can be a noun or a subject pronoun. The verb can be any verb as long as it's conjugated in French. And the object can be a direct object, can be an indirect object, or can be generally we refer to objects to these two, but it also can be like an adjective. So the first sentence that we have here is a declarative sentence because it affirms something, and its declarative sentences are made of the standard sorry about that, the standard structure: subject, verb, object. In this case, we identify je as the subject, I, eat, mange as the verb. It's a conjugated form of the verb, and the verb is conjugated according to the subject, whether it's a noun, for example, les enfants mangent, or je mange. And lastly, we have an apple. What do I eat? An apple. So, une pomme is going to be a direct object obtained by putting the question qu'est-ce que? Qu'est-ce que je mange? Je mange une pomme. Now, let's go towards rule number 2 regarding making a sentence in French. Rule number 2 is equally important. Don't skip the subject even if it's a pronoun. Now, there are other languages where we can skip the subject, okay, where the subject is optional, but this is not the case for French, all right? We don't usually drop the subject of the sentence even when it is a pronoun. So, we instead of having like in other languages such as Spanish hablo francés or Italian parlo francese, we are going to have obligatory, mandatory je parle français, il parle français, tu parles français, nous parlons français. And that is because the verb form, okay, is it's conjugated according to the subject, and the subject influences a lot of the sentence um, in the way it's written. All right. So, for example, if you had a sentence made of a subject, a verb, and an adjective, like il est important, then this, if the subject were feminine, elle est, and you would want to you would need to change the adjective depending on the subject. Elle est importante. All right. So the form of the adjective is different according to the subject. In the same case, also verbs that are conjugated in compound tenses with être, for those that know of passé composé, for example, um, they agree in or they agree its past participle form with the subject. So this is why it's important to never skip the subject in French. Before, we've seen that a declarative sentence is used to make a statement, an affirmative statement. It declares or states that something is happening and always ends with a period. Okay, so when we are referring to declarative sentences, we're referring to affirmations. We're not referring to negative sentences or questions. Now, the declarative sentence we've also noticed so far, it's made from a subject, a verb, and an object. Now, the exception is when the verb is conjugated in the imperative mood. If it is conjugated in the imperative mood, then we don't have the subject. The word order is just verb plus object. But it is the only scenario where this happens in, let's say, in a declarative sentence. All right? So, vous parlez français. Here, it's conjugated in the present tense, okay, of the indicative mood. Parler français, speak French. It is conjugated in the imperative mood, not in the indicative mood. So, also, this happens because there is a need to differentiate between the present simple tense and the imperative mood. All right. So just keep in mind this. Now, I'm going to touch a little bit on the adjectives and how they change up the, um, let's say, word order. All right. Now, adjectives usually go after the noun they describe. Une pomme verte, a green apple. However, some of the most common adjectives can also go before the noun. Une grosse pomme, a big apple. Now, it doesn't mean, and keep in mind this, that um, all the adjectives that are placed before the noun cannot go after the noun. They can also go after the noun. There's nothing wrong with that. However, you have to keep in mind that there are a few adjectives which for which the meaning will change whether they are placed before or after the noun that they describe. If you want to know more about this, please comment down below with adjective, with the text adjective, and I will make a tutorial on the adjectives and those specifically that change meaning depending on the position that they take in the sentence before or after the noun. Adverbs are also a part of the sentence and they work together uh, and describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs to modify their meaning or make a sentence more precise. Now, when the adverb modifies a verb, it usually comes after the verb. The word order will become subject plus verb plus adverb. For example, je parle lentement. I speak slowly. Now, I haven't included here the way we form the adverb. All right. So if you'd like to know about that, please comment down below adverb, and I will make a tutorial on how to form different adverbs and what are the rules that you should take into account. Uh, let's say just as a basic rule, you need to, for most of the adverbs, you need to um, find the adjective first and then find the feminine form of that adjective and add a certain ending to it. In this case, it's man. But then again, this is the general rule. There are also specific rules that would need a separate video. So do comment down below if you want to have that video as soon as possible. Then, if we have an object, the sentence becomes subject plus verb plus object plus adverb. Now, keep in mind that I've said the object can be a direct object or an indirect object. And now, depending on whether the object is a direct object or an indirect object, um, and also it can also be an adjective, but in conjunction with the adverb, mm, not really. Okay, or we will see in other tutorials how they change up their position. Now the main, let's say the main rule, okay, covers the direct object, okay, in this scenario. So we'd have je parle, qu'est-ce que je parle français, comment est-ce que je parle français, couramment. So I speak French fluently in this scenario. However, for example, if you had an indirect object instead of the direct object, usually the indirect object is placed before the verb. Je lui donne. Okay? Or um, let's say, je lui parle extrêmement fort. I speak to him very loudly. All right? So there are a lot of, let's say, individual exceptions, but they have to do with the positioning of a direct object, an indirect object, and so on. However, for now, keep let's say, making sentences with this structure: a subject, a verb, a direct object, and an adverb. All right. And I urge you down below to make your very first own sentence, all right? A similar one to mine. You can use also any dictionary, any online translator that you may want in order to translate words individually, all right? Do not translate the whole sentence because that's not the point. The point is for you to understand how to manage each word in the sentence, all right? So, if also, if you have any questions so far, please comment it down below. I will answer as fast as I can each one of them. I do look at the comments, so please do. Now, when the adverb modifies an adverb or an adjective, it usually comes after the verb and before the adverb or the adjective. All right. So the word order that you'd have would be usually subject plus verb plus adverb or adjective. For example, je parle très lentement. I speak very slowly. Here we have the adverb that is describing another adverb, which is very. It is describing the adverb slowly. Okay, and slowly is the one that answers to the questions how I speak. How do I speak? Slowly. All right. So, je parle très lentement. The exception here is bien, which means well, which is placed before the object. All right. So, um, now if you want to do with a first, let's say, sentence, you can transform the first sentence to also have an object. I speak very slow French very slowly. Okay, this is how you would see it in English. I speak French very slowly. However, in French, the very slowly part will come before the object. All right. Je parle vraiment bien français. All right. And this is applicable to any verb that you might have, any direct object. All right. Um, for example, I you could translate, and I actually urge you. It would be a nice exercise for you. Translate the sentence. I um, I take things very seriously. In the comments down below. All right. Also, we haven't seen an example with an adjective. You could say, for example, il est très important. I think we all know these words and this sentence. This means this is very important. All right, important being the adjective, very being the adverb. As you can see, the adverb is placed before the adjective. Now it's time for a challenge. Write in the comments down below one sentence that contains a simple SVO structure, one that contains a subject, a verb, an object, and an adjective, And lastly, one that contains a subject, a verb, an adverb, and an adjective. I will wait for your comments down below, and please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this channel to be notified for the part 2 of the laws of SVO. For now, bye bye.